everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I am thrilled to have my amazing guest with me today, Tiffany Prestipino. Tiffany is a midlife fitness and wellness coach and creator of the Midlife Movement Method, a sustainable approach that helps women over 40 stop burning out, starting over, and blaming themselves so they can finally feel strong, energized, and confident again. After experiencing firsthand how doing all the right things stopped working in her 40s, Tiffany realized the issue wasn't discipline or motivation. Most fitness and nutrition strategies simply aren't designed for midlife bodies, hormones, or real life. Determined to understand why, Tiffany spent a year intentionally deepening her education, earning certifications in personal training, nutrition, and menopause specific fitness. That combination of lived experience and formal training became the foundation for the Midlife Movement Method, a smarter, more supportive framework built around hormone-friendly training, balanced nutrition, and realistic consistency. Today, Tiffany helps women train smarter, fuel their bodies appropriately, and build consistency without burnout, proving that strength, energy, and confidence are not only possible after 40, but sustainable when the strategy finally matches the season. So thank you so much for joining us, Tiffany. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Val, for having me. Excited to be here today.
Oh, absolutely. Well, Tiffany, I would love to dive right in and for you to tell us more about yourself and about your mission. I just love everything you're doing, and it's such an inspiration to me.
Thank you. It's been a long road, but I think all the paths have led me to where I am today. So yeah, as Val said, I'm Tiffany. I'm a mom of two teenagers now. Just had my youngest turn 13 this month. So married for 18 years, also a dog mom. I'm just really passionate about helping women make themselves a priority first and foremost. Motherhood is the biggest blessing, of course. But like Val, you talk about very much on your podcast and through your book as well, that nothing really prepares you for how much of yourself that you give after you become a mom. So my kids are my greatest joy, but after having them, I really did lose myself for a while. I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel comfortable in my skin. And then I was really stuck in a cycle of, yo-yo dieting. So I'd be in for a short time and I'd fall off and then I'd start all over again. And before kids, I was also a yo-yo dieter. So I would do whatever it would take to lose weight for a little bit of time, whether it be a vacation or a wedding or whatnot. And then it would never last. I would put it on as soon as I lost it after the event was over. And once I became a mom, I wanted something that was sustainable. I knew like the yo-yo dieting cycle was not a good thing to model to, especially after having a daughter of my own. So I wanted to be a good example. I wanted to find like, okay, how do I actually make this a lifestyle change? So in my 30s, now we're fast forwarding a little bit. I did a program that worked for me. And I ended up coaching other women with this program for about 10 years. And I loved it. It worked. Well, it was kind of a mix of different types of workout styles. But in my 30s, it worked splendidly and it helped other women in that phase of life. But then I turned 40 and I feel like things started to change, I always think back of when I was a kid and we'd have go in that Spencer store, and it was like over the hill, everything goes downhill after 40. And so it was just like to work for me weren't working anymore.
Mhm.
I felt more tired. I felt more inflamed. I started putting on weight, even though I was not changing anything. I was like doing the same things, doing the same workouts, eating the same way, but like weight was coming on. I just wasn't feeling like myself anymore. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So at that same time, that experience all these changes with my own body and like kind of in a depressed mode as well. The company that I was working for also shifted. So my business also went away, the coaching that I was doing at the time. So here I was at like 41, not feeling like myself, a little lost. And honestly, I felt like I was at a crossroad. Like, okay, I could either go in, all on myself and figure out like, what's going on with me? What's the problem? Or I could just stay stuck. and I was like, well, that's no way to live. I don't want to like stay stuck and like go do a job that I don't like and like be miserable for the rest of my life. I'm young, I'm 40. So I decided to go in myself. So what I did is I spent a year just doing that, like taking care of myself. I went through a year of therapy. I went through growing in my faith. And I really decided that I was really deeply called to help women. So I went through all the certifications. I got certified in personal training. I got certified in nutrition, certified in perimenopause and menopause training. And I started applying everything that I was learning to my own body to see, like, okay, let's see how I could figure this out. And if it helps me, then surely it will help other women in this chapter of life. And so what happened was I started feeling like myself again, slowly but surely. I started like crawling out of this hole I felt like I was in. And I ended up like losing the weight that I had gained. But more importantly than that, like weight loss is just one aspect of it. I started to feel more like myself. Like I said, I felt stronger. I felt more energized and confident. A feeling that I hadn't felt in quite some time. And that's when I knew, like, I'm here to help other women feel this way because I know what it's like to have success, then like feel like gross and depressed and like not yourself again, and then, get to the other side again. So that's how the midlife movement method was born to help women over 40 really build their strength and their confidence in themselves again. And just know that, like, if you go through that experience, hormones are a whole nother thing, and there's like a whole page and a half list of symptoms that our hormones alone can cause us, which is basically everything. So just to provide you with, the tools and the accountability and the community to help you get through this next chapter of life, because it's not easy, but it is doable and it's not complicated.
Mm. I love that, Tiffany. And I just, you are such an inspiration. Like, I've known you for a while now, and I just feel like you have this, you're so genuine. And I think that you are so relatable to other women in a way that I feel like you just inspire other people. You motivate other people, where it's like, how, like you were saying, you went through this transition and you kind of worked on it yourself, and what works for me, and here's what works for me, see what works for you. I am going to be with you along the way. I'm going to be your cheerleader. Went through all this training for the past year, kind of learning all of these things. What is it about like midlife that, or the 40s, that's just different? Why does it not work as well as it did back when we were in our 20s or in our 30s? We all know that, but also at the same time, I feel like we don't really go deeper with the why and how can we kind of help overcome that or work with that in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've seen both personally in my own life and physique and with clients is that in our 20s and 30s, you can really get away with almost anything in a way. Like,
Yeah.
you could do boot camp, you could run, you can do tons of cardio on that elliptical machine, random workouts. And as long as you're moving your body, I felt like, and being mindful of, calorie intake, things like that,
Mm-hmm.
you usually will see results. But in midlife, it's different. Things start to shift, and that is because of our hormones. So, especially estrogen and progesterone, as that begins to change and drop, and levels, go out of sync, that affects everything from how we store fat to our energy levels to how our body recovers from workouts, too. So, you might find yourself more sore or like more fatigued after a workout, and that's pretty normal. So the more is better approach that worked previously in our 20s and 30s doesn't work anymore after, our 40s. It actually starts to backfire. So
Mm-hmm.
what I found is that midlife requires a smarter approach, not a harder one, not which is actually good news. Like once I discovered that, I was like, oh, this is actually good news. Like I don't have to work out for an hour and a half every day. Like, it's just being more strategic with how you do it. Um, and so really what I found is strength training becomes the foundation of it all. So because we naturally lose muscle as we age, that directly impacts our metabolism, the way our body is shaped, and even things like bone health. So if we're not actively working to maintain the muscle that we do have and try to build the muscle, because we can still build muscle in our 40s and beyond, we're actually working against our body. So I also like to layer in short bouts of high intensity, but in a controlled way in my workouts, so that we're boosting metabolism without burning ourselves out, and increasing inflammation. Because, those high intensity workouts, I have a couple that I used to do back in the day that actually will cause more inflammation in the body now, in this chapter of life. And so that could actually cause you to retain the weight and like be more tired. And then guess what happens? You get burnt out because you're like, I am not getting the results from punishing myself, basically. So, like I said, the good thing was I was like really excited to learn that less is more at midlife. So when you combine strength training, with strategic intensity and proper fueling, that's when women start to feel strong, energized, and like themselves again. So in your 20s and 30s, you could get away with a lot of things, but in your 40s and beyond, you really need a strategy for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A lot of stores like Target, Walmart, Play It Again Sports will have, obviously, they'll have dumbbells that you could pick up
Sure.
for a cheaper price. But when I was growing my home gym, that's what I was looking for. Like, when does Target have a sale for their equipment? Always in January. And sometimes the end of February. That's like a hot spot to just remember. But yeah, just dumbbells. Like I started with like a set of 3, 5, 8, and 10 pound dumbbells, I think, initially. And then as you get stronger, you could build your home gym. But so dumbbells for sure. Resistance bands and loops are great. You could get those on Amazon for $10 for like a whole set of them with different resistance levels.
Mm-hmm.
I love incorporating those. There's so many exercises that you could do with that. And then another one of my favorite items is a slider. So you could even use like paper plates at home, is what I say, like in my group. But again, it's $10 on Amazon to get sliders. But just a way of like these different tools that you could use at home that will build your strength. And then, with my programs, each week I progressively make it harder to keep challenging our muscles. And just doing that with like different rep counts or going slower in the movements, whether eccentrically or eccentrically. So it just, little things like that. But you absolutely don't need, all the cable machines and like everything that a normal gym would have. It's really dumbbells, your own body weight, which you could do plenty of workouts with that alone. And then resistance bands and loops, I really love.
Tell us more about your classes.
Yeah. So, classes are really focusing on strength training, because that is such a vital part that I do focus a lot on. Because I know that the more muscle you build, the more it will help with your metabolism. And like even when you're sleeping, you're continuing to burn calories as you put more muscle on. So we're doing strength training 4 days a week typically. So that's the foundation because as estrogen declines, we naturally lose that muscle. So we want to keep it and retain it and then build it. So I layer in strength training. So maybe we'll do every month is different, but let's just say, for instance, I think this month I did like 3 strength exercises in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, like Monday's upper body, for instance. Then we do a HIIT component of 45 seconds to a minute long. And why I do that, so I'll do like 3 strength exercises, a HIIT component, 3 strength exercises, a HIIT component. And the reason I do that is because that helps our metabolism to burn fat as well and get your heart rate up. And then we continue on to the next strength exercise. So it's just utilizing the best time, with what we have, because all of my workouts are 30 minutes or less, which is also exciting because and then it makes it doable with your daily life. I know we're all so busy. And you don't need more than 30 minutes. That's like the best part. Like that is all you need most days of the week. So it's 4 days of strength training. Wednesdays, so I'll do like Monday upper body, Tuesday lower body. Wednesday's always a mobility and flexibility day. And I made that intentionally because if I made the flexibility mobility day on Saturday or Sunday, I know nobody's going to do it because I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
It's on the weekend. We're too busy, right? If you got kids and you got family, aging parents, like weekends are crazy. So I made it on Wednesday intentionally because we need to stretch. Like we do. Like after 2 days of strength training, you really need to stretch out all your muscles in your body. So that's what Wednesday is for. Then Thursday's total body. Friday is core, which I also love because I heard from a lot of women is a lot of classes that they took at the gym or at other places. I'm not going to mention names, but they never worked their core, and although we work our core every day, just walking and sitting and getting up out of bed and all these things, and we work our core in my workouts, upper body and lower body, just as second nature because you have to lift things.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted a dedicated core day because it really is the trunk of our body, and it helps everything from our posture to getting up to getting down, everything. So I wanted a specific core day. And I think the women in my group have really enjoyed that because that really does also give you a lot of confidence. If you're walking around like this with your shoulders back, you're just naturally projecting more confidence than if you're slumped over. And that comes from your core work, So that's really it. I mean, 30 minutes or less. Saturday is an optional workout. If you have 20 minutes, I make it short and sweet, no equipment required. And then every week, like I said, builds upon the last. And every month is a totally different theme and workout structure. So I personally get bored extremely fast, which is why I was so excited to create the midlife movement method because I know women get bored too. Like, if you're doing the same program for 8 to 12 weeks, like that is so boring and so repetitive. So every month is a fresh new theme, like this month is spring and we're working on, some fun graphics that I post every day and like just different topics that I talk about in our group every day. But then also the workout structure is completely different than it was in March for that reason, just so you don't get bored and you want to show up every day.
Oh, I love that. I think that's so key to like have that variety. And I want to ask you, Tiffany, so are your groups, are they in person, virtual, or both, or how does that work?
That's a great question. So I actually have an app. And so within the app, every day, like when you log in, it will say, "Hi, Valerie," with today's date.
Mm-hmm.
And then right below that, it will have today's workout. So for today's Tuesday, it would say, today's Tuesday's lower body workout. And then you would just hit play and then it would pop up and generate. So all the workouts are pre recorded. You could take them at any time. You don't have to join me live or anything like that. You take it at your own time. If you miss a workout, let's say today's crazy, you don't get to it, you could always go back and do it tomorrow on Wednesday, which is our mobility day. So you can do Tuesday workout and then you do your mobility day. But then it also is nice because the app also keeps track of your nutrition. So you could keep track of your macros, your protein. And then I also have a community forum in there as well, which resembles like a Facebook group. So every day I'm posting whether it's motivation or wins or recipes, things like that in there. It's our community where we could celebrate each other and ask questions. And every day I post some content. And then we also have, which is new and I'm really excited about, is recipe PDFs. So, well, not PDFs, they're like recipe books for high protein. So I have like high protein breakfast, high protein lunch, high protein dinner recipes. And you could click on it. It gives you all of the ingredients, instructions, and it even takes it a further step where you could even just click a button and it will log it into your complete macro count. So if you made that meal today, you don't have to like enter in everything. It will just automatically put it into your own macro goals, which is really nice too. And then, of course, it keeps track of your own progress, like your measurements, your before photos, your weight, all that stuff is in there as well. So it's really nice. I took a good amount of time really comparing different apps to see which one I liked the most. And for me, the most important part of all of the apps, which only this one provided, was that group community feel, because I wanted women to feel like they were part of a community, a movement. And so that was the most important part for me. And this is the only app that I found that really had that component, along where I could also upload my workouts and they could keep track of their nutrition. So it's really nice one-stop shop for women to really work on themselves.
Oh, I love that. That's so amazing. Like it is a one-stop shop and it sounds like you can do it from anywhere, which is so great. There's a nutrition aspect and the macros and the protein. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's such an important part.
Nutrition is everything because you can't outwork what if you're not fueling properly, you know. So I think a lot of women, especially in midlife and beyond, believe the answer is to eat less. And that actually works against us. So please stop eating like a bird or like depriving yourself or restricting food because, you know, that's just not a way to live. And like I said, it does work against us. So as we get older, our body does get more sensitive to all kinds of stress. And under eating is actually a form of stress. So when we're skipping meals or we're barely eating or not getting enough protein, for example, our body actually holds on to fat. So it's doing the reverse. It also breaks down our muscle, which remember, we want muscle because that spikes our metabolism. We're burning calories even when we're sleeping. That's what we want. Um, so we could end up feeling more tired, more inflamed, and then obviously frustrated. And that's I think why a lot of women just give up on themselves, which is sad. And I was almost there too. So I know what it feels like when you're that frustrated and you just are like, well, nothing's working. Why am I even trying? But things do work and they will work. So, you know, protein is a huge piece of that. I really base and I tell all the women in my group, like, start with protein, like for every meal, like 25 grams or more should be your base. Um, Build your meals around the protein, you know, like for instance, for breakfast, I've been on a Greek yogurt kick, you know, so I'll have a Greek yogurt parfait for breakfast every day just because it's easy. I can whip it up in like 2 minutes flat and it fuels my body for a couple of hours. Also, very excited to see just this week in Jewel that Oikos came out with a 30-gram flavored Greek yogurt. So, like, there you go. That's 30 grams right there. Throw some fruit in it. You could put some protein granola in there, and you're like 35, 40 grams to start the day. Amazing. So I feel like more and more companies are thankfully coming around the bend and like creating a lot more protein, you know, rich foods, which is great. And then of course the pyramid, the food pyramid got finally restructured all these years later. You know, I think back and I'm like, I remember even thinking as a kid, like, this cannot be right. Like, why do they want us to eat so many carbs? Like, that is not going to work, you know? So finally that's gotten changed. But find proper nutrition with the right workouts. And that's when everything starts to click. And your body naturally doesn't want to be overweight. You know, your body wants to be in a good place. So just feeding it right. And we work on that a lot. I'm always like the wheels are turning. Like, what else could I provide for women in the group to like make this easier for them, you know, to like just meal plan? Because really, meal planning is such a big piece of the puzzle. And if you meal plan, just take 15, 20 minutes like a week to just map out. I mean, then it's automatic. Then you're not like going through the McDonald's drive through. You're not, you know, making poor decisions because it's all laid out there for you for a plan. So I think that's also a vital part.
Mhm. Now, Tiffany, what else would you like to share with us? I mean, I think this is all so amazing. I mean, I absolutely love how you have the science behind this, as well as you really have intentionally thought out so much about habits, about community. What other ways make your program stand out? Like, I absolutely love everything that you're talking about here.
Yeah, I think just like having a one-stop shop, like we're, you
Yeah.
know, one app. I know because before, even for myself, like I would have like an app for tracking my nutrition. I'd have an app for my workouts. You know, I didn't really have the community aspect, you know, the last several years, which I really missed, which is why that was such a a big part of when I was looking for apps and doing my research for my business. Like that was like the number one thing I wanted, because I missed it so much. The just the feeling of women supporting women, especially as you're working on your personal self, like it's just such a great, deep connection, that you could have with other women. And so that I think is a special thing. And that, they know, I think all the women, like even I had one reach out to me when I was on spring break, just telling me she lost 6.5 pounds in March and sorry to bother me. But I'm like, sorry to bother me. Like, I love this. This is like Christmas morning to me when I get messages like that. So thank you for letting me know, when I am on vacation, because I love that stuff. So I would say like just being able to have that, smaller group, more intimate, and just let they know that they could reach out to me at any point in time too is really a special thing and very different. Thanks, Val. It's been so fun. I agree. Like we could definitely talk about this topic forever. And all the midlife changes that occur, right? Because like I said, there is a laundry list. but but I do want women to know, like, foremost, like I think the biggest thing is learning to make yourself a priority is not selfish. It's really necessary. And it's one of the most important things that you could do for yourself because, not only will you transform as a person, but it really does affect everybody that you encounter once you take the time to work on yourself, from your spouse to your children to your friends to your neighbors to strangers. Like honestly, when I see road ragers, I'm like, well, they haven't worked on themselves. you know, like it really does spread. You just have more patience. You just feel better about yourself. You're just, I don't know, it's just a great feeling. And I just want more and more women to know that like you're not broken, you're not unfixable. Like this is something that you can work on and you're worth it. And it does spread not only, like I said, to your family, but to like everybody. And you never even know like the impact that you yourself working on can have for in the future, right? Because like your kids are watching you, other people are watching you. So just, maybe that got a little deep, but
I love it. I love
just
it.
yourself, you're worth it, and you only have one life to live and you might as well feel the best you can, right? So where you could find me, mostly on Instagram, which is just my name, Tiffany, hyphen underscore hyphen, the lower hyphen, I guess, and
Yeah.
then Prestipino. So I share a lot of free value on there around workouts, nutrition, recipes, just midlife health in general. And then I have a link, but anyone can reach out to me at any time if they have any interest in joining my groups. I start a new theme, like I mentioned, every first Monday of the month. And so we rock it out all month. You don't have to start on the first Monday. Like if you're a couple days late, no big deal. You could just join us where we are. But I'd be happy to answer any questions for anyone. You could direct message me there or ask for more information on my groups there.
Well, thank you so much, Tiffany. I absolutely love chatting with you. And to anyone who's listening, be sure to check out everything that Tiffany has to offer. Follow her on Instagram. Check out her groups. They are really amazing. And she truly will be your cheerleader. And she is just such an amazing person. And I am so honored to know her and to be able to share what she does with y'all. And thank you so much again, Tiffany.
Oh, thank you, Val. Cheering for all of you every day.